finish, you might wish the hell I'd never been up here.
One, and in comes the two to the three, and
Listen to the words that the warriors speaking.
Welcome to the DraftDaily Fantasy Show. I'm your host, Jason, and my co-host here, Chris.
Hello again.
Today's show is going to be about running backs for season-long and for daily DFS plays. So don't forget to visit draftdaily.com, powered by Fantasy Gold Coin, or FGC. All the links, descriptions, social media, everything you need will be in the description. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And also, let's just jump right into this, man, because I'm pumped. Dude, we got a draft in 4:30, 5:30, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Couple hours.
Yep.
Ready to go. Been doing best ball drafts all morning.
We got the Ballers League draft. The Ballers League, dude. 24,000 coins up for grabs, plus staking at the end of the season. You know what I can't wait for? I can't wait to take the price today after the draft. The price Fantasy Gold is at right now. And then on December 24th or 25th, when we pay out the winners after the Fantasy Super Bowl, compare what the price is today to what the price is then and show everybody, dude, this is what you're missing. This is how crazy this is. So, because I'm going to tell you, dude, I'm not expecting to be where we're at, we're in a bear market right now. I'm not expecting to be where we're at right now by then. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. I expect to be at least, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 times what we are right now, minimal.
Let's hope so.
Yep. Okay, well, let's get into this, Chris. Season-long fantasy running backs. We have here Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara. I guess it'd probably be better if we just go by team. So let's start with Arizona, David Johnson.
So David Johnson, it really depends. Like a lot of these guys, for me, it depends on if it's going to be a PPR league or if it's going to be a standard scoring league. Because for a lot of these running backs, it's going to make quite a big difference on where you draft them. Some of the guys, David Johnson's not really one of those guys that it's going to matter too much. He's still going to go up top either way. In most of the drafts I've been doing so far, Todd Gurley's been the first pick. And I don't know what you think, but I kind of think that seems like right. I've only had the first pick once in all the best ball drafts and the season-long drafts I've done before, but I took Gurley as well. So I think Johnson's ADP is up there. I don't know, in the top few guys as well. But for me, it's probably Gurley first.
I agree.
Then I was going to ask you, so what's your thoughts on, like, say you have the first pick in the draft? Are you going receiver or are you going running back?
Oh, I'm going Todd Gurley.
All right, that's and what like around what round, if you do would you take like a handcuff for Todd for like your number one pick? Because my thing is, when you get the number one pick, you usually don't get to pick again until, if it's a 10-person league, until like 20th place. So you have a lot invested in that first pick because everyone else has gotten 2 guys when you've only gotten 1. So is it worth it to, target like Todd Gurley's backup in case, week 1 he goes down with the hamstring or something and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks and you already have his backup sitting there and sitting pretty? What do you usually handcuff your guys in the early rounds?
Not anymore.
No.
I would rather take a guy like Bilal Powell, who I know is playing and starting, or somebody in the later rounds like that also somebody that I know is good. Like, I'd rather take a crapshoot on Tavon Coleman or Derrick Henry because both of them guys, Tavon's splitting carries with Freeman.
But he's getting touches still.
Yeah, and then, Derrick Henry is going to be splitting touches. But you have a couple guys that are starting that I just would rather take than use my 7th, 8th, or 9th pick for Gurley's backup. So that's how I feel about that.
So my thing is I take the same approach in leagues where the waivers reset every week. Because if I'm losing and it doesn't really matter, I've screwed myself a few times in the leagues where the waivers, once you use your waiver pick, you go to the bottom of the list and you're at the bottom of the list until everyone else uses theirs. You slowly work your way up. And if you don't handcuff that, say you don't handcuff your first pick, and then like week 2, this is actually what happened to me. Week 2, my number 2 pick went down. So I had to waste my waiver pick on him, put me to the bottom of the list. So going into week 3, you've got a guy that's obviously 2-0 and beating everybody at the top of the waiver list. And then that week 3 by number 1 running back goes down. Well, I'm at the bottom of the waiver list at that point. I'm not getting his handcuff since I already didn't happen. This happened with Le'Veon Bell a couple years ago when D'Angelo Williams took over for him a couple weeks into the season. And the guy with the best team in the league scooped him up and made his best team even better. And I was at the bottom of the list already because I had gotten, had bad luck because my number 2 pick had gotten injured. And I made a bad decision by not handcuffing my number 1 pick, because had I had D'Angelo, I would have done a lot better in that season. So I'm always curious the dynamic there, like when you handcuff and when you don't. It's always kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, who are you going to handcuff him with? I mean,
yeah. Well, that offense is. I guess you're right. I don't even know who his backup is.
Malcolm Brown, Justin Davies, or John Kelly, or any sort of comparison to Todd Gurley.
Yeah. It's tough. Do you waste a waiver spot on that? And the other thing is, are they going to try and sign somebody, even somebody off the street? Over those guys Peterson. That they do have. Too bad somebody already did that.
I love it. No, that's where I go. I don't handcuff anymore. I won't handcuff ever again.
Okay.
That is a reason I do take 2 quarterbacks. I know that you like to stick with 1 quarterback the whole year. That's the reason I take 2. Because if I take Russell Wilson and I can get Mariota real late, or Kirk Cousins, if Russell Wilson gets hurt, guess what? And I can alter. I can matchup wise, like my matchups. I'll have a better quarterback for the matchups than you will, because you're running 1 quarterback and you're trying to pick up off the waiver wire every week. But let's get back to these running backs.
Yeah. Okay. So that was just, I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the season long stuff, and like a lot of people, I know the big hot thing for the last few years has been going with this 0 RB strategy, where especially in PPR, where you take you're taking receivers with your 1 and 2 picks basically. I've had it work for me. I've had it not work for me. I decided this year I wasn't going to take that approach, and I've actually seen a lot on Twitter and a lot of other places where a lot of the experts are mentioning we're kind of learning that the 0 RB strategy isn't as good. So that made me feel good, because that's kind of I had shifted away from that this year too. You ever take that 0 RB strategy?
No, man. And to tell you the truth, I'd like to take running backs to catch the ball out of the backfield. I love it. Me too. I love anybody like that, and I love filling my teams with them type of players.
Me too.
Tyreek Hill, Ty Montgomery, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson. The Devontae Freeman. Anybody that catches.
Earlier this year, they showed preseason. Coach McVay even said they're going to try to get Gurley more involved in the passing game this year. They've been working on it. He's a really good pass catcher. So that was another thing I was going to say about him going number 1 overall. It's kind of a no-brainer even in PPR. He's going to get so many touches.
Like Carlos Hyde, he's a runner, man. He doesn't catch out of the backfield.
Yeah, that's what they got Duke Johnson for.
Well, and that's fine. But if you're going to give me, I'll put other people in front of him that catch out of the backfield.
Yeah, well, even David Johnson, like you asked me about when we started all this, he's similar too. He's going to catch the ball a lot out of the backfield. And that's the thing. Even if it's just a little screen pass in a PPR league, you're still getting half a point or a point just for that little, 2-yard dump off that to the side of the field. So it just makes sense. It really does, to take those guys up high.
Yeah,
especially because compared to the receivers, they're going to get a lot more opportunity. The ball's going to be in their hands a lot more, whether it be handoffs or catching.
yeah. The only running back that I have personally that I warrant real high, and that's because I'm going off my own projections, and that's Fortinet, because I already expressed, dude. I think this guy's gonna have 12 touchdowns this year. Period. I think that's like his floor. 12 touchdowns. He runs the touchdowns in. They got their quarterbacks, abysmal. Their defense is superb. So it puts puts him on the field more. Dude, if I get pick 1 through 5, I'm all over Fournette, period.
Yeah, and the thing about Jacksonville is that their receivers, I like all of their receivers, but I don't love any of them. It's going to be 1 week it's going to be Marquise Lee, 1 week it's going to be Keelan Cole, 1 week it's going to be D.D. Westbrook. It's very hard to drill down who's going to be the guy that gets the 8 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown that week, because it's going to be literally a different guy every week. It was last week. At least Fournette gives you some consistency if you're gonna play that offense.
Yeah, you're rolling dice there. All right. Well, we know Gurley, Bell. Bell deserves 2. He catches and runs the ball. So I think Bell's number 2. I'm not sold on Ezekiel Elliott at 4, and I already said I'm moving Ezekiel Elliott way out of there. I'm not. He may be top 10, but he's not top 5. And Kamara, to me, you always talk about regression. That's where I see the regression at.
I do too, especially when Ingram comes back. Because the first few weeks, it's going to be really nice to have him because he's the only guy. He's going to be the only guy in the backfield. But he's another one. You're right. I don't think he can keep up those numbers he did last year. And sometimes he can prove me wrong. But
Saquon Barkley at 6, I do not agree with that. He looks good. He probably is really good. But I don't know about 6, man. They have him ahead of Fournette. That's nuts to me. And ahead of Melvin Gordon and Kareem Hunt. No way, dude. I'd rather have all 3 of them than Saquon Barkley. Barkley is he's a first round and beginning of the second round, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to stretch for him when I can get a better running back. How about, would you rather have McCaffrey or Barkley?
Well, in light of what happened again last night, McCaffrey is one of the guys who I have been picking all morning this morning and all the best ball drafts I've been doing. He's going to be their feature back, and he's going to get a lot of touches. And we talked about this in the quarterback show. When you have a running quarterback, it extremely boosts the level, the efficiency of your running back, because now the defensive line and the defensive backs have to account for, 2 guys that could potentially carry the ball. And a lot of times it's a guess between which one's going to be, and if they guess wrong, the other one's got an open lane or got, a chance to really do some damage. So I really like that. I'm really happy. I always thought he was, he looked good last year. I didn't think they gave him enough opportunity. So I am all in on McCaffrey.
All right. Dalvin Cook, they have 7. I totally disagree with that. I need to see something from him before I make him a first-round pick, period. I know he was great last year, but
we didn't see very much of him. We only got a pretty small sample size before he got hurt.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon, they got 8. He needs to be up there. I'm taking Melvin Gordon before Elliott, Kamara, Barkley, Cook. That's how I feel about that one.
I've only heard this mentioned a few times, and I'm surprised more people haven't been all over it, but Ken Wisenhunt has made mention multiple times that they're going to make a much larger attempt to get Gordon involved in the passing game this year. And surprisingly, they never really did before. I went and looked back through the stats. I always just assumed he had more, he was more involved in the passing game, but he really wasn't. So I think that's a good thing too. I think that's a good use of him as a weapon. So I'm excited to see that.
He can catch out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a guy that's going to drop the ball. And he doesn't fumble much, so we're good there. We already discussed Fournette. You know I love Fournette. I like Kareem Hunt, too.
I have nothing wrong with Kareem Hunt. That offense, I like it a lot. I think we may see some regression from some of the crazy numbers those guys put up last year, but I still like it regardless.
Yeah, I like McCaffrey also. I think he's fantastic. Shady McCoy, look, that's all they have this year.
That's all they ever have.
He's a beast, but
he really
this year is the worst. That offense there is nobody but him. So I expect that these teams will, load the box up and be like, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us with your crappy wide receivers and your crappy quarterback.
How old is he? I'm just curious. He's 30. He's hit the 3-0 mark. So this could be a good year to go another way. A lot of times, and that's the magical age. And these guys hit 30, they start to really break down. And you're right with how bad their line was last year and how much they had to rely on him. He was just. I remember seeing him some games just look like they almost had to cart him off the field at the end of the game because he had just gotten hit so much.
Yeah, I'm not. Devontae Freeman, I like Devontae Freeman. I don't like Jerick McKinnon, and I don't favor Joe Mixon. Royce Freeman's had a great preseason, so I'm going to go ahead and move him up ahead of a few guys for Denver.
I like him too.
Okay. Jordan Howard is a touchdown machine, but I don't know, man. It's with Tariq Cohen there. They're both good. One's a bruiser. One can do it all. I don't like to. I know that he'll have the touchdowns, but I don't feel safe I would rather have guys that I know are going to catch out of the backfield and get the opportunities.
Well, and I think with Nagy there now, I think they're going to throw the ball more this year. I think they're going to throw the ball quite a bit more this year. I think they're going to kind of at least to start the season, I had this feeling they're going to kind of let Trubisky loose and kind of see what he can do. I think we're going to see a lot more downfield passes and a lot more design running back passes and things like that. We'll see. I'm excited to see this Bears team this year, to be honest. It's one of the teams I'm most excited to see kind of what's going to happen with all the changes and stuff in the offseason and their rookie quarterback getting some experience. So,
Kenyon Drake, I'm not. I don't want him at all.
He's an avoid for me.
Yeah. Alex Collins, I love. And it's not because I'm wearing a Ravens hat.
Sure it isn't.
I'm not moving him up the top 10, but
I've noticed his ADP in the best ball drafts it's been creeping up all off season. He kind of started out as a real sneaky play, and he's starting to become a little bit more chalky. I wouldn't still call him chalk, but people are definitely starting to notice.
Yeah, for season long, he catches end runs. Derrick Henry, I don't like for season long because he's splitting carries.
That's a tough situation there to gauge still.
Yeah, I have no love for Marshawn Lynch. I think he's done.
I can't believe he's still their starting running back. That's all I know. I can't even believe it. They would have done something in the offseason to improve that position there.
Mark Ingram is suspended. So you just, I guess 7th, 8th round, or you mentioned handcuff earlier. That is about the only player I would handcuff.
That's where when they're going to split carries. Like if you got, what's another good example? The guys from the Bears, like you said, Cohen and what's the main running back's name there?
Jordan Howard.
Blanking there. Yeah, Howard and Cohen. Like a situation like that where you kind of already know all right, they're going to both get work.
Yeah, you know they're going to get work. And if one gets hurt, if Kamara gets hurt, you know Ingram is very capable of doing his business. And then if, you know, Ingram gets hurt, you know you got Kamara, and he's going to be able to handle his business.
Mm-hmm.
That's like about the only team I would probably handcuff is them two if I was going to handcuff. Because you don't know. You don't. And I don't expect Kamara to keep up at the pace that he was at. So New England's very interesting. You know, they have
I struggle with the New England running backs every year. I never seem to get them right.
That's because they never pick one and stick with them, or they pick one and try to stick with him and he just doesn't work out. I mean, I think
and then you know James White's getting all the passing work too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost guaranteed. If he's out there, it's a passing down.
And I think LeGarrette Blount probably had more points than any of the other running backs.
I think he did. I think that's good. I think his role is going to be Jeremy Hill's role this year, or maybe even Gillisley. Listen to their depth chart at running back. This is just insane. Burkhead, Hill, James DeVellin, Sonny Michael, James White, Brandon Bolden, Mike Gillisley, and Ralph Webb. They've got 8 running backs on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, that'll go down to 5.
Yeah, I know, but still, it just shows they still don't know what the heck they're going to do.
They don't know what that was going to do.
And you know who else is like that? The other one I noticed was the Detroit. They got Blount, Abdullah, Dwayne Washington, Theo Riddick, Kerryon Johnson, and Zach Zenner. Like, do you want to play any of those guys? You know, Riddick maybe in PPR later round PPR because you know he does give you that receiving upside. But still, you can't. That's not a guy you could start and rely on every week.
I don't take none of them.
You're almost better off. It's almost a waste of a spot because I did that with Abdullah the last 2 years. I pick him and he ends up sitting on my bench for half the season while I wait for them to figure out how to use him properly.
Yeah,
and then they never do.
I'm staying clear of that whole team. Deion Lewis, Lamar Miller. I don't know. Lamar Miller every year, you know, he lost 10 pounds. You know, he was really good at one point, but
he's another one. How old is he? I'm gonna find this out real quick. I like Deion Lewis a lot this year. I think he's 27, so Lamar Miller's still got a couple more years left. I really like Deion Lewis this year. I think in this offense, I think he might shine. I think he's kind of a sneaky, little bit later round pick that you might be able to sneak in. I don't know. I just have a good feeling about him.
Yeah, I think he's better than Coleman.
Oh, Deion Lewis is on Tennessee.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
I mean, Derrick Henry. You think he's better than Derrick Henry?
I
mean, I'm going to go off the limb here and say Derrick Henry averages 5.1 yards a carry.
I think that offense is going to be a lot different this year. I think Vrabel and LaFleur, their new head coach and offensive coordinator, both love throwing the ball. They're both run pass-first offenses. I think you're going to see a lot more of Mariota rolling out, throwing downfield, even using his legs to run. So I don't know. We'll see. I could honestly, I would be comfortable with having either of them on my team at this point, Henry or Lewis. I would be totally cool with that.
Yeah, because I like Henry a little bit, but I'm not messing with that team because I can't stand this multi-running back stuff, man. It drives me bananas.
Yeah, it is tough, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. We already discussed some of these other guys. The only guy that I see here is, Ty Montgomery because he's multi-positional.
Yeah, he'll be good in PPR as well.
Yeah, and Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde should be well above a lot of these other guys. Like Duke Johnson and Cohen and Crowell. See, and that's what I was trying to tell you. You're going to have these guys taking Kerryon Johnson, Thompson, Crowell, Cohen, Tevon Coleman, Duke Johnson, even Ajayi and Miller and Lewis and Burkhead and Lynch. I mean, dude, I got Carlos Hyde ahead of all them guys.
Well, after watching the Browns preseason games here, I have a tendency to agree with you. Hyde has looked really good. He's looked explosive. He's busted out a few long runs already. The offensive line has given him some big holes to run through so far. Especially with Terod out there, again, it goes back to that. When you got the mobile quarterback, your running back will inevitably have a better opportunity and will become more efficient because of it. So I tend to agree with you there. I think I'm hopeful as a Browns fan. I'm hopeful that Hyde kind of, has a career year this year. So,
well, so ending up the season long, here's my last thoughts. If you're in a season-long draft, I would lean toward guys that score touchdowns. If it's not a PPR, if it is a PPR, then I lean toward it changes the whole ball game. Mm-hmm. And I always lean toward guys that catch out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. And that's the only difference between the two for me, where I would put Fournette and guys that I know are going to get the touchdown carries. Gurley, of course, gets them, and even Elliott gets them. But them guys like that, I put ahead. I'll put ahead of other guys just because I know that they're getting them touchdowns, and without a without a PPR involved, the touchdowns is what you want. Mm-hmm. So for season long, that's about it. You want to switch over now to daily DFS?
Yeah, sure. One last player note I wanted to talk about because we kind of grazed over him. I am avoiding Jay Ajayi this year, not because of his injury. I actually had him pegged as an avoid prior to even knowing that he was hurt. I think that his touchdown rate and his rates from last year, we were talking about this off camera earlier, are just unsustainable. He was not an efficient runner at all. He had a lot of long, not a lot, but a decent amount of long runs last year. But if you take those long runs out of the equation, the rest of his runs were terrible. So it's almost lucky sometimes when you're able to break a bunch of those 60 to 80 yard, game changing runs. It really messes with your stats. So I have a feeling if you take those out, his value goes way down, and so I am avoiding him this year in season long for sure.
I agree with you. I have no interest in Ajayi. Okay, so let's move on to daily DFS.
Yeah, so with daily, a little bit of strategy first. This is pretty well known through the DFS industry, but it's still something a lot of the newcomers and less versed players know. It's a lot of time there's correlation between your running back and whatever defense is playing. Whatever defense is the same as the team he's playing on, because a lot of times if the defense is doing its job and they're keeping the other team out of the end zone, your running back's going to get more opportunity because as almost like a game script type of thing where they're gonna hand the ball off more. You're gonna run more of the clock out. You're gonna let the defense stop, and you're gonna get the ball back and milk the clock even further. So there's a lot of times where in daily, as you're building your daily lineups, stacking your running back with the defense that of the same team he plays for is a good strategy.
All right. Well, for me, daily DFS obviously, is about price too. So, that once again, that changes everything. Mm-hmm. Price has everything to do with it. When I'm building a daily DFS lineup, I look at two things. I look at price, and I go right back to receiving out of the backfield, receptions. I love guys that catch out of the backfield and run the ball, mm-hmm. and that are, multi-talented there. That's for me in daily DFS. That's who I'm all over all the time. And again, the only exception is Fournette, because I think that him scoring a touchdown every game is not out of the question. So
yeah, I agree with you. I like for instance, Christian McCaffrey would probably be, a pretty commonly used player, especially in the first few weeks after watching what's going on in the preseason there. I would think week 1 his ownership is going to be pretty high. The one I know for sure is going to have really high ownership week 1 is going to be Rex Burkhead, because he's really underpriced on all the daily sites. And from the way it looks, he's going to get a majority of at least the first and second down work in New England. So we'll see about that, but he's very, very cheap. Very cheap. He's almost min.
Well, the top 10 for most of the top 10 lists at running backs, I'm telling you now, I will remove 4 of them and replace 4 of them with other running backs that are, top 32. Maybe not 32nd, but there's at least 4 running backs I would remove from the top 10 and replace with a guy like McCaffrey, who's outside of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I there's moving these guys out and putting guys that catch out of the backfield. That's what it's all about for me for daily DFS.
Yeah, I think Gordon, first few weeks, Kamara, like those kind of guys. Le'Veon, you're totally right. I tend to always lean towards those guys who I know are gonna give me some reception points as well. It's so important to get those catches.
Yeah, and we'll touch into this when we do our daily DFS show before the season starts. But my lineup's going to be, I'm going to tell you, Chris, my lineup's going to be, it's going to have Montgomery in it as long as these guys are healthy. Tyreek Hill. Them guys I'm building my lineups. Literally, that's going to be like for every lineup I have, that's going to be my starting point. And then I'm building from there. And then, of course, I'm adding, running backs that catch out of the backfield to that. And I'm going to try not to I wish there was a better way to predict usage because usage is tough for me. And maybe that's something you could help me out, because sometimes I'll pick the top guy and think his usage will be low because of his price. And it backfires. His usage is still, at 25% or something. And then sometimes I'll take a guy and think like nobody's thinking about him, and his freaking stupid usage is still 25%. Like Alex Collins. Like I love Alex Collins, dude, but I don't know what if I take him and I see his usage sitting at 25%, I'm gonna be like, crap.
You mean his ownership?
Yeah, his ownership.
Yeah. Because I think you're exactly right. Because I think when some of the daily sites release their pricing for week 1, because a lot of them do it, like a month before the season starts, and I saw Burkhead, and I'm like, oh, that's a steal. That's a steal. There's no one's gonna play him. He's like super cheap. And now as the weeks have gone on and people are sitting there looking at it, he's getting more and more and more popular. And I have this feeling he's going to be like, you're right, like 35% owned in the big GPP contests on the DFS sites this first week. So, and then honestly, since we're talking that kind of strategy and ownership there, when a guy like that is owned, I always like to say like around, if I know they're going to be like pushing 35-40%, I will seriously consider fading them. I do this a lot when I play NASCAR DFS, because if that guy underperforms or things don't work out, or God forbid he gets hurt, and he's like 35-40% owned in the big contest, you're almost half the entries are dead. They're drawing dead. So if you've played 20 lineups and played none of that guy, you're still going to be way ahead of the field because half the lineups are out already.
Yeah.
So it's a good strategy to play there sometimes, to try to figure out what these guys are going to be owned, and then avoid them if they're going to be over owned for what you think their value is going to be.
Yeah, that's how I won my contest on Yahoo. I won $5,000 on Yahoo.
Wow, nice.
NBA. I chose Steph Curry. Now, this is 2 years ago. His price was retarded. So the ownership percentage was real low because he was like the highest priced player on the board, just about. So I got lucky and he banged in like 56 points. And I watched the game, and I just was like, yes, I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew I was going to win because I had Steph Curry.
You had him and no one else did. There you go.
Yeah, so. All right, well,
Cool.
pretty much with daily DFS, that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to lean toward – I'm going to look at ownership percentage. I'm going to look at guys that catch out of the backfield. And, I think there's only one guy that qualifies at running back and wide receiver, and it's Ty Montgomery. So I would definitely look at something like that. And, even for your flex or whatever. And that's about it for daily DFS. I tell you, I won't play Ezekiel, Saquon Barkley. I won't play McCoy. I won't play I hate to say this. I won't play Freeman. I won't play Mixon. I won't play Howard. I won't play a lot of these guys. I will not play David Johnson either, and I will not play Le'Veon Bell. So out of the top 10, there's 4 guys I will play and 6 guys I won't. You know what I mean? Unless me and you talk after this and you figure out, I think that, David Johnson's usage is actually going to be – his ownership percentage is actually going to be low because of his price. If you and me talk about something like that and I look at it and I'm like, I think you're right, then yes, that's the only way I'm going to use somebody like a high-priced player like Girl.
Yeah, and like Le'Veon, I'm going to avoid Le'Veon maybe even for the first 2 or 3 weeks. He hasn't been at training camp. He's not. I think what I read earlier is he's basically going to show up for the first game. Like no practice, no nothing. I mean, I know they've been in the same offense for a long time, and it is Ben, but you need to build that offseason camaraderie, and you need to work with the offensive line. And you need to be, and if I recall, I'll have to look back, but I think last year his first few games he underperformed. Let's see here. Oh yeah, did he not even play?
4 weeks. I think he missed 4 weeks. First 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. He was suspended. Wasn't he suspended last year? Something I don't remember.
Yeah, no, he missed the first 4 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, so when he did come back against the Browns, oh no, he played last year against the Browns.
So it was the year before
he missed the preseason. So 9-10, he came back with the Browns. His salary was $9,800 on the one site, and he was 25% owned. He scored 7 points. So week after that, 13 points. So finally after that, he kicked it in 21, 37, 31, 25. But when you have no game you haven't played in 6 months, your body can't remember what that game speed is like. And it's amazing enough that he can just go in there and not, get hurt instantly, because I would think that would be more than what would happen. But I am going to be avoiding Le'Veon the first few weeks. In fact, I haven't picked him in any of my fantasy leagues for the same reason. I don't want to throw that pick away and lose the first 2-3 weeks of the season because the guy refuses to go to training camp.
Do you ever watch pro wrestling?
I haven't in a while. I used to watch all the time. I used to be a big fan.
Okay. Because I've seen him live and I've seen him on TV. The snake, not it's the snake guy. He's real good. Randy Orton.
I know who that is.
I took my daughter to the arena down here in Baltimore, and watching him wrestle, he moves like so slow, but it's so smooth and effective.
Smooth, yeah.
And when I watch
you're right.
Bell run, it does not look like he's going fast at all.
Well, he has that delay. He does that he stops behind the line for a second, and I swear that little move he does every time where he kind of just stops. It freezes the defense. They don't know what to do, and then he's just gone. You're right though. You're right. He's smooth.
I always feel like he's gaining yards, like he's walking.
You're right. That's probably a good thing,
And that's the same way. If you ever see Randy Orton wrestle, he wrestles so slow, but he's so effective, and it's like almost tricking you. It's like you're watching this guy. It looks slow to you, but for some reason it's not. and it's just hard to figure out. You know,
That's
I've watched Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith.
Yeah, Sanders was another one who was like that. You're right. He was another one that like he made it look easy.
Yeah,
you know.
So with with the season long, with the daily running backs, that's about all that I have. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. I think we covered everything.
Okay, so remember, everybody, subscribe, share us, tweet us, comment, yada yada yada. All the links are in the description. Come to Draft Daily and play your daily fantasy sports. Check out Fantasy Gold. We are the number one cryptocurrency for sports, for fantasy sports and esports. And we'll see you in our next episode. I guess we'll do wide receivers. All right, so we will do wide receivers, season long and daily next. We will see you then. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.